I was sitting at a restaurant the other day talking to people, and they were talking about this and that and garbage. But then I thought, you know what? Let me try and communicate. I asked this guy what his favorite movie was, and he said, I like this movie. I said, oh, why is that? He said, it's good. Okay. And I find it very upsetting because, generally speaking, when you ask someone what their favorite thing is, be it art, be it books, music, what their favorite food is, favorite color, favorite animal, whatever, whatever answer that person gives says a lot about who they are. And movies are no exception. What kind of movies make you laugh? Why do they make you laugh? How does it speak to you? How does it make you a better person? Do you take anything away from it? So, in spite of it being a generic question, this is like a conversation starter, small talk thing, I actually genuinely believe that talking about your favorite films can be a good thing. It can be a good way to not only connect with people, but to understand people. So, I thought I'd sit here and brag about my favorite movies. I've picked 7 of them, although I could go on for hours about these movies. I picked 7 of them. They're not in any particular order, so the first movie I name isn't my least favorite, the last one I name isn't my most favorite. And I won't go into spoilers in case you haven't seen them. But if you have, let me know what you think of them. Let me know if I'm wrong, if I missed something, if they're horrible and I have horrible taste, because these movies range from simple entertainment to thought-provoking and inspiring. So there's a lot of videos like this on YouTube, but I kind of feel like you should talk more about why you like it. Oh, I like this one because it's funny. It made me laugh. I like this one because there's explosions. Bruh. Anyway. Oh, by the way, Happy New Year's. Most of you guys are going to quit on your resolutions like 2 days from now, so it doesn't matter. But anyway, here we go. Number 1. Gojira. Yes, one of my cinema heroes is Godzilla. An unstoppable force of nature that stands as a reminder of humanity's insignificance. Godzilla, of course, would go on to be known, at least in America, for goofy suits, bad acting, bad dubbing, and cheap effects, which I also like. But the original Gojira from 1954 is a powerful and often scary film about mankind being wholly responsible for the problems they create. Godzilla is not just an allegory for the atomic bombs dropped on Japan at the end of World War II. He stands as an allegory for nature in general. The human story involves Dr. Serizawa, who has invented a devastating weapon and has to decide whether to share this weapon with the world or hide it. And it's very compelling because it raises the question of how much do we open up? How much do we explore in the name of progress and in the name of science? Because oftentimes, it doesn't end well. Of course, Godzilla himself is terrifying in the movie with great acting and camera work. Godzilla is a darker, more sinister movie, and that's when I think Godzilla is at his best. Number 2, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. This is the perfect example of turning your brain off and enjoying the spectacle. Indiana Jones' series works as a whole, except for what are the other 2 called? But Temple of Doom is easily the best of the bunch. It's fun, it's suspenseful, and it's entertaining without being dumb. Indiana Jones, being one of the great action heroes, goes from a high-risk exchange in China to being thrown into a quest to save children and a magic stone from an evil cult. First of all, I love the aesthetic of this film. It's beautiful, the colors are vibrant, the costumes are stylish, and while Raiders and Crusade are throwbacks and homages to the cliffhanger serials of the 40s, this is a cliffhanger serial. It's corny and fast-paced, and all the characters are great. Yes, even Willie. People complain that it's too dark and violent, which frankly is utter nonsense. I kind of wish it would go a bit darker and more violent. What else can you say? Temple of Doom? Great movie. Number 3, Beauty and the Beast. The only Disney movie on this list, and I was debating whether or not to include this, or Bambi, or Pinocchio, but I went with Beauty and the Beast because the story of a monster who must earn the heart of a beautiful woman by who he is as a person as opposed to what he appears to be is something that we can all take a lesson from. And no, it is not a Stockholm Syndrome movie. The music is iconic. There's really not one bad song in the movie. All the characters work, the animation is gorgeous, the villain being the exact mirror opposite of the hero is wonderful. Gaston is one of the great movie villains. It's unfortunate that when people talk about great Disney films, they go to Lion King, or Frozen, or Aladdin. It was the first animated movie to be nominated for Best Picture. Number 4, Ben-Hur. Of course I had to put this movie on the list. Ben-Hur tells the story of a wealthy merchant who is falsely accused of a crime and sold into slavery. It's a powerful story about redemption and revenge. Once Judah Ben-Hur gets revenge, he finds himself unsatisfied and can only find gratification and peace through faith in Jesus Christ. Jesus, who does not speak in the movie, nor do they show his face out of reverence, is perhaps the best on-screen portrayal of him I've ever seen. The sheer majesty of him just standing there and the impact he has on the people he interacts with speaks volume about who he was as a figure and shows that less is always more. Of course, the most famous scene in the movie is the chariot race, which I would not be surprised if people actually died because it is fucking brutal. Charlton Heston does a fantastic job as Judea Ben-Hur. One of the great performances of this era. It is an epic in every sense of the word. Number 5, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Halloween originally started as an anthology series where each film would focus on a different story and different characters in each movie. But Halloween 3 is unfortunately the only film in the series to do this. After it bombed because nobody wanted to see it because it didn't have Michael Myers.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
For the record, I would like to make it clear that Michael Myers is the shittest slasher villain, bar none. Halloween 3 is a compelling story about an evil toy maker who, angry about the commercialization of Halloween, wants to return it to its dark pagan roots. And while I myself can sympathize with him because holidays are mostly commercial crap nowadays, mass child sacrifice is probably not the best answer. Dan O'Herlihy is truly menacing as Connell Cochran, which, by the way, is a badass name, seemingly pleasant on the outside with a sinister malice just under the surface. I often wonder how much better the series would have been had it followed this path, but idiots complaining there was no Michael Myers, so unfortunately, as I've said before, we're stuck with the same movie over and over until the end of time. Boring! Number 6. Metropolis. Silent movies are wonderful in their own right, but Fritz Lang's Metropolis is the cornerstone of the 20s. A futuristic city divided by the wealthy who live in this massive city and the poor workers who live underground running the machines. Metropolis serves as the inspiration for many filmmakers to come, most notably George Lucas and Ridley Scott. Everything about this movie is fantastic, from the sets design to the matte paintings of the city. The mediator between the head and the hands must be the heart. Basically means that compassion and humility should be the driving force of decision making. Not so much how it will help you, but how it can help others. That idea is lost on us today, unfortunately. Now that idea is considered socialist garbage, and it really isn't. The silent era is perhaps the most underappreciated era in film because it's old and it's black and white and there's no sound. I actually really love the 1920s, and the cinema of that era is a wonderful addition. More movies should use imagination and ingenuity. Computers are great, They make whatever you want, but limitations come from restraint. Limitations are better for filmmakers because it forces you to be more creative. Number 7, Gone with the Wind. Perhaps the best romance movie of all time. Titanic is pretty good too. Gone with the Wind has gotten flack over the years for being pro-Confederate. I guess they haven't seen the movie because it's not even remotely what happens. The story of a rich girl who loses everything during the Civil War and climbs the ladder of success is one that I think should be seen at least once. It is mandatory viewing. The movie does a really great job of portraying societal expectations and conformity. The best scene in the entire film is actually pretty early on when Rhett Butler, played by the perfectly cast Clark Gable, is in the parlor with the other men discussing the war. Everyone is sure they'll win, unaware of what war actually is, and Rhett tells them directly to their face it's a bad idea. But that comment goes directly over their heads.
I think it's hard winning a war with words, gentlemen.
What do you mean, sir?
I mean, Mr. Hamilton, there's not a cannon factory in the whole South.
What difference does that make, sir, to a gentleman?
Then when he pushes them, they get mad and resort to insults.
All we've got is cotton and slaves and arrogance.
That's treacherous! I hear you were turned out of West Point, Mr. Rhett Butler, and that you aren't received any decent family in Charleston. Not even your own.
Is that not the perfect metaphor for the internet? Scarlett O'Hara is wonderfully bratty. Vivian Leigh is fantastic in the role. Olivia de Havilland, who just passed away a few years ago, is great as Melanie. The whole cast is perfect. Despite some dated attributes, the movie is actually really timeless, focusing not on the Civil War or slavery itself, but rather the attitudes and behaviors of people with the Civil War as a setting. I watch this movie at least once every couple of years. It's amazing. I don't care if it's offensive or whatever. So, these are just 7 movies. I could have gone on for hours about all of them, but I just wanted to get a quick thing out. Happy New Year or whatever. Got a few more shorts coming out, videos later. Just wanted to talk about this because all these movies are great. They all speak to me on a different level. Some more than others, for sure, as I've said. But let me know in the comments what your favorite movies are. If you like any of these, if I'm totally wrong, let me know. I'd love to hear from you guys. Take care.